Now we welcome to the booth here a very special guest, as you mentioned, Justin.
It is the head coach of one of the premier programs in all of college baseball, the Vanderbilt Commodores, Mr. Tim Corbin. Coach, pleasure to have you up here at Cardines Field.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So you're obviously here to watch a couple of your guys, Steven Scott out in right field tonight. What is it like to come watch these guys in the summer? Is it different after you see them all year down in Nashville?
Well, a little bit. I think it's a little bit more low-key for them, but my wife and I take pride in doing this every year. We come up here and usually stop in Newport first. My wife worked here for a summer. My daughter worked here for a summer. We've got very close ties with Chuck and, of course, Ron Westmoreland because his son was coming to Vanderbilt. So we look at Newport as being one of those places that we treasure a great deal. And then we go up to the Cape and watch the rest of the kids during the course of the week.
The count 1-1 on Matt Cogan, the Waves right fielder. Everybody knows you're a big Northeast guy, or maybe everyone doesn't know it, but college baseball fans know it.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons you've been so successful lately. Most people who aren't so aware around the country would say all the talents in California and Texas and Florida and Georgia. How have you been able to capitalize on what goes on up here?
Well, as you mentioned, I just think my roots up here and knowing people, and then the ability to know what these kids are made of. The fibers of the kids up here are strong. They oftentimes don't have the ability to play long periods of time. They get to play during the summer, of course, but they're typically 2 or 3 sport athletes, which, quite frankly, I like. I mean, I like the fact that they can decompress a little bit and get away from baseball. But the fact is they really jump once they...
As the pitch is grounded hard to the second baseman, Harris, who will flip to short for the fielder's choice and end the top of the 4th inning. Not before Ocean State gets a run on an RBI single by Gian Martellini, and will stick here during the break. And, Coach?
Well, yeah, they just seem to improve quite a bit, during the course of the year. And then if they're there for 3 or 4 years, then you see a pretty good product once they leave. But I just like the kid. I feel some familiarity with a lot of them. Even going back to Clemson, I made a lot of trips up here to try to get those kids to come down south.
Now, Coach, one thing that's very unique here about Newport is Cardines Field and the uniqueness of this ballpark. And for years now, I've seen players get here for the first time. Their eyes are wide when they walk in the stadium for the first time and say, wow, this is where I'm playing for the summer. What do you do to prepare your guys before sending them here? What do you tell them?
Well, I tell them, the honest truth is I tell them it's the best place in the country to play for summer baseball. You can take a lot of spots up in the Cape, but here it's just different. The ownership's different. How they treat the kids is different. I mean, where you guys live, I mean, it's God's country. It's on the ocean. The homes are beautiful. The ballpark is very historic. It's nestled right in the middle of the town, which is nice. And we always stay at the Marriott across the street. So we just enjoy it. We got a fondness for it. And I just tell the kids they're going to have the experience of their life. And they always come back and tell us that they do. And then the kids we send up here the next summer, they tell them the same thing. But there's just a different feel for Newport for us. It feels like home.
Coach, you've been here many times. Do you have a favorite feature of this ballpark that makes it stand out?
Yeah, I just think the dugout side by side. It just, it's
Hockey
crazy.
style.
Yeah, I know it is hockey style without the penalty box in the middle. But I just feel like that's kind of cool. I mean, it's just like sitting and warming up with the other team is very neat.
It's the bottom of the 4th inning here at Cardines. Max Ford back on the mound to take on Jake Brote, Steven Scott, and Trey Harris. That's 5, 6, 7 in the Gulls order, and Scott waiting on deck, so we'll have you talk about him in a moment. But first, I think a lot of fans would be interested to know, how much do you communicate with your guys in the summer? How much do you delegate to assistants? Do you know everything that's going on with Steven Scott right now?
I do. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I tell them that. I mean, when I get to the office early, I go right to the internet, and if I don't do it before I go to bed, I check on their numbers. I'm very knowing of what they're doing. It's important to me. I mean, the only kids we'll ever have. Maggie and I got 2 daughters, but they're older, and these are the boys that we feel like we're almost stepkids. So I enjoy being around them. I hope they can say the same, but I like to follow them. And then, if a kid's not doing as well, you throw them a text, and the kid's doing well, you just kind of keep encouraging them. But we communicate with them quite a bit, especially after the year that we've had. I just want to kind of check on their hearts and see where they are because we're concerned about them a little bit. But it's fun to see them.
Ford behind in the count, 3-1 on Jake Brote. Scott waiting on deck. Ford's worked 3 scoreless innings so far in his first start of the summer. Ford into the wind and the 3-1. Swing and a miss. So the count full. Scott, a left-handed hitting outfielder waiting on deck. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about him. He's had some exciting moments over the course of this summer.
Yeah, I thought he would. He's been a little bit streaky for you, but I think at the same time he's a hitter. He is. He's one of those. Coming after your. He's sitting in the lineup here. In front of him, he's got giants. He's got 6'6", 6'6", 6'6", and then you go to this guy, he's 5'6". But Scotty, he's one of those kids who got a good knack for hitting the baseball. I think he's going to be a good player for us. He played sparingly last year, but that's typical of a freshman. But I think he's got a knack for seeing the ball, and he's got some strength too, as you can tell. Kind of a Matt Stairs type guy, short arms. Sees the ball pretty well, good recognition of the strike zone, and
that ball swung on and hit in the air to deep right field. Going back is Kogan. It is out of here. Right on cue, a 2-run home run for Steven Scott, and Newport goes on top 2-1. That has to make you smile, Coach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That one just launched out towards right field by Scott. He picks up his 6th home run of the year, moves to second in the NECBL, and drives home Brote. That's 20 RBI, moving to top 3 in the NECBL and runs batted in. Scott showing why he's an all-star here in the 2016 NECBL season. He also leads the team now with 20 runs scored.
So now nobody on, nobody out. 2 runs already in the 4th, and the Missouri Tiger, Trey Harris at the plate. So a conference opponent for you, Coach. First pitch is down and in the dirt, 1-0. How would you say this league prepares your guys for coming back and playing in the SEC next season and in the future, what most people call the best conference in college baseball?
Well, I think it's really good league. I think we send a lot of freshmen up here, and I think at times it can be overwhelming. 3 of our kids are up here right now. You mentioned Steven, and then, of course, Connor Kaiser, shortstop, and Matt McGarry too. And Matt's got a good arm, but he hasn't pitched as well as he'd like. But I like Matt, and this is probably a good spot for him right now. So I think it's a really good league. It gets them going, and they can develop some confidence too. And it's tough. It's a tough league. You mentioned Trey Harris right there from Missouri. I know Trey really well. We play against him 3 times a year. So you got to play well. And think about wood bat too. You get off to a bad start. Sometimes it can be tough on your mind for these guys because they don't think they can hit anymore. But it's certainly a challenge. And I like the way Connor's coming along now. He hadn't hit for a while, but I think his numbers have gone up quite a bit. He's up to 200 now, which is good. I told him he finally taped that hole in his bat that was there. But he's a heck of a kid, and he's a heck of a defender too.
Coach, we've talked about the success of the Gulls, but the NECBL as a whole has really gained more notoriety in recent years and has been put up there right along with a couple other, probably 3-4 other leagues in the country, Northwoods League, of course the Cape Cod League. How has the NECBL grown in your eyes over the last 5 to 10 years? I
think funding and just the coaches and the facilities. I just think it keeps growing every year, and I don't think this league takes a backseat to anyone. You make a big deal of your all-star game. Places like Newport and Ocean City, I mean, they kind of drive the league, so to speak, but I just think it's got a lot of tradition, and I think anytime you've got something that has tradition and it stands the test of time and you get good players, then I think it stands to be pretty good. But we love this league for our kids, and we'll continue to send kids here and send them to Newport first, and then after that, we try to fill in the rest of the league.
Trey Harris grounded out back to the mound for the first out. The count now 3-1 on Chris Chatfield, who takes a pitch outside ball 4, so he is on. That is the first walk of the night for Ford. He also has a hit by pitch tonight.
15th walk of the season for Chatfield. He continues to be very patient at the plate and
second
hot in July.
Grant Williams now having a conversation with Ford, and pitching coach Brian Key will head out to the mound to talk with Max. Max is an interesting guy, interesting story. He actually suffers from diabetes, so his coaches always worry about the 4th, 5th inning, especially on a hot night like this. He gets tired, he gets hungry, and he wears down a little bit. So the Waves told me before the game they were going to make sure Max was either ready to go in the 4th and 5th, or they would get him out of there. Don't want it to be a tough situation. Is now 2 runs already in, man on first, 1 away, and the 9-hitter Travis Young at the plate. Young, a right-handed hitter who struck out swinging in his first at-bat. So, Coach, a lot of guys you send here are freshmen. You mentioned that. So they don't play as much their first season on campus. What do you like to hear back from them, from their summer coaches, as the pitch is popped up to second? Chris Hess will make the easy catch for the second out. If you call up Al Leyva at the end of the season, right, what do you want to hear? Steven Scott did better. What about Connor Kaiser? What do you want to hear?
That they're arriving in the field early and getting involved in early work. I think that's really important to me. Not that I doubt that, because I don't at all. I mean, these kids are pretty hungry and they want to play themselves, but I just think doing the things on their own that it takes to be a good baseball player. I think I'd be disappointed if they weren't working out on their own or getting down here to hit early or do some extra things. And I know pitchers, you're kind of limited in what you do that way, but I just want to hear that they're adding to the team's harmony and creating pretty good relationships and acting right. But I never really worry about that with our kids. I don't mean to see that in an elitist way, but I think they're good kids and they know how to handle themselves. But just putting in the effort that I would deem necessary for them, and if they're doing it on their own, that's a good thing. Now the numbers, if they're doing well, great. But I just want to see them improve more than anything else and gain confidence.
After a stolen base from Chatfield, count now 2-0 on Cole Fabio, the leadoff hitter.
Coach Al Leyva, of course, has been around the league for a long time, but just retired in the offseason. Newport Gulls longtime manager Mike Coombs. He was here for 11 years and was very successful. Brought home 4 championships as the Gulls manager and was really good working with the players. And he was really a player's coach. They loved him year after year, and we miss him this year. And great to have Coach Leyva, of course, in there. But what do you think made Mike Coombs special? What was about his approach here in summer ball that made him so successful?
No, I think it goes back to what you were saying. I just think it's his personality. He's got a neat personality about him. I mean, this is a touchy thing now to be a coach in summer baseball because, the kids are going through, in most cases, a very intense program wherever they come from, and here they want to play, they want to get their reps, but at the same time they probably want to have some fun and do some things.
That pitch is lined up the middle. Ryan Blanton comes up with it. The throw to the plate is not in time. Chatfield beat it by a step. It's an RBI single for Cole Fabio, and 3-1 Newport.
If that's any other Gull, Al Leyva might hold him at third, but Chatfield, among the speediest Gulls, he'll pick up his 17th run scored of the season and give the Gulls their biggest lead of the ball game.
I think you and I owe a thanks to the Newport offense for extending this inning for us so we could talk to Coach a little bit longer. Man on second with 2 away. So, Coach, everyone knows how hard you grind during the season, during the off season, recruiting, things like that. Is this what's considered your off time, your break?
I think Christmas is. I mean, this is one of those things where my wife and I do this every year. We come up for a week and we actually get a game or 2 games in every night, especially in the Cape, because the towns are a little bit closer and the games are staggered a little bit. But we enjoy doing it. It doesn't. It's certainly a lifestyle, and it's not a job. I mean, it's one of those things that we really thrive on. But it's the one trip that we have, and then after that, I was recruiting before and doing camps, and then we'll do the same thing right after. So Christmas is the time. Well, we still come up New England. We come up to Boston for Christmas and see my folks in New Hampshire. So we're here in New England as much as we can be.
No balls and 2 strikes on Troy Dixon, who's 1 for 2 tonight. Ford sets at the belt, and the pitch misses the outside corner, down 1-2. So, Coach, with your program right now, it's in an outstanding place. You guys had a really tough year, and not something I can talk about, not something Nick can talk about, and not something we'll ask you to talk about because you have so much. But what are the expectations for next year? What are you looking at with a program that has played at such a high level over the past few years?
Well, we lost quite a bit, and we lost obviously a young man unexpectedly, but then we from a draft standpoint, we lost 5 high school kids, and I don't think anyone's feeling sorry for Vanderbilt. I mean, we got some good players coming back, but at the same time, it's going to be different this year. I think just growing each year. But as I tell the kids when they get in, they're their own child, so to speak. They're developing their own personality and they're developing their own team, and that's always fun. That the part of developing them and their group and building the relationship within that team is always the most important thing to me. And at the end of it, it's the most important thing for them. And we don't really talk too much about records and Omaha and winning an SEC title. We really try to stay focused on what we're doing during that time and moments and things like that. I just think that's very healthy for kids. But we'll see. I never make any predictions or anything like that. We got a pretty good bunch of kids, and hopefully we can grow them.
And as the pitch is swung on and grounded right back to the mound, as Ford will field and flip to first for the last out. Just one more question.
Yep.
Vanderbilt, you got a ton of guys in the pros right now, but just another example, Carson Fulmer was announced. He's coming up today or tomorrow. What's it like for you every time you hear, that guy was on the mound at my field a year and a half ago, and now he's going to be in the bigs? How does that feel for you every single time?
Well, I enjoy it for them. I mean, when they get up there, it's a nice feeling. But as I tell them when they leave, whether they get to the big leagues or don't get to the big leagues, really all I want to see them do is retain their innocence and just be better versions of themselves each year. Some of them will have those opportunities and some of them won't, but it doesn't really change anything for me. I mean, at the end of it, my wife and I are proud to go to their weddings in November, and the fact that, we've got 6 or 7 every fall. I think those are the paychecks that we get. We really enjoy that part of it. And if they're playing Major League Baseball, great, but I don't look them any differently. I mean, all I really care is that they develop real confidence and they're comfortable in their own skin. If they do that, then I'm fine with it. They get to the big leagues, that's great. But we'll see them every so often, but I'm not going to ask for tickets. We'll buy our own, and I don't want to bother them. I just want to see them and say hello.
Well, you've spent an awful lot of time with us, and we really appreciate it, taking some time out of your trip up to Newport to speak with us. It's an honor for us. Great to hear what you have to say about the game, about your guys. And personally, I don't think there could have been a better broadcasting moment than one of your guys hitting a home run right when you were talking about him.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Nice to sit in on a big inning for Newport.
Pleasure for you to join us here, Coach
Yeah,
Corbin.
you guys are nice. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.